October is a great month to celebrate ghouls, ghosts, and Halloween. Depending on its location, October 31st is the beginning of the Day of the Dead holiday. Today I'm going to show you how I paint plaster skulls with inexpensive materials. There are 2 videos of this process, with this being video number 1. I hope you enjoy it. I start off with a simple plaster skull purchased from Michael's Arts and Crafts store. I then spray the base of the skull with a satin paint and primer coat by Rust-Oleum. It produces a nice canvas to apply the colors that follow. The base coat is complete, and now it's off into the sun for drying. The beginning of the top coats includes paints from Liquitex and another brand titled Craftsmart. I start with Craftsmart paints using black as the base color for the eyeballs and the teeth. At this stage, I'm not too concerned about how messy or how accurate or how detailed all the line work is. Because of this type of paint, it's going to take several layers, applying over and over to get the opacity that you're looking for. So I won't bore you through all that exercise, but I did in fact have to do that, add several layers. Now it's on to the teeth. I find that it's easier to add the white over the black rather than the black over the white. And using a flat brush creates the results that you may be looking for when painting teeth. After all, just a vertical line up and down creates really cool results. It's time to go with some color. I'm now using the Liquitex Basic series. As I said in the beginning of the video, these are simple, inexpensive, yet easy to use acrylic paints. They're kind of like a beginner's series of paints because they don't necessarily have the opacity that you're looking for. So, as with the blacks, with the Craftsmart series, I'm going to have to go over these colors several times. By the way, if you happen to be surfing the net or on YouTube and you discover my channel, do me a favor and hit that like button and listen for that notification bell. So it'd be great to click on that, and certainly, most certainly, subscribe if you like the content. And also, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be sure to look at those and perhaps create more content that may be appealing to you. When painting objects such as these skulls, just remember to pay particular attention to where your hands are. After all, just because you're painting on one side doesn't mean that you may be putting paint on the other side for where you just completed a lot of time and effort in the work that you're doing. For example, these eyes, they took a bit of time, and along the way I did get a little bit of paint on my fingers. So it's important to continue to wash your hands. Just keep an eye out on where your materials are placed. What makes it so fun to be an artist is that when trying out new things, you realize that sometimes you'll have some accidents that turn out well, and some things that you had figured was going to be well done and didn't turn out so well. In this particular incident, I painted this skull with a satin paint as the base coat, and it worked out well. But in the second episode of this series, you'll see that I painted the skull with a gloss finish. And boy, let me tell you, talking about transparency issues, I had my fair share of those. In fact, I know that I painted over some of these colors more than 5 times. You'll see in the video. This stage in the process can be very tedious because many of the elements that's on the skull are either curved, and in fact most of these elements have a raised surface. So it's important to get around the edges, and certainly to remember that you do have to go back over this color, most colors in fact, 2, 3, and in fact some locations 5 times, especially with the brighter colors like this yellow that I'm using right here. There's no particular reference, theme, or pattern that I'm going by to paint this skull. I'm just painting what I feel is fun to look at, nice colors, and a range of colors that is kind of akin to what you may see on a male skull. For example, when you see the second part of this series, the female skull, a lot of those colors are a little bit more akin to what you would see on a female skull. So it's not to be intentional, it's just what I like to do, and you can paint these any color you want. But for me, I needed some sort of mental guide so that I wouldn't just get caught up in painting the same color throughout the whole skull. If you haven't noticed it, from time to time I will take my brush and dip it into a little bit of water to dilute the paints and gives it a little bit smoother consistency, especially when you have to go around these sharp curves as you're seeing here with the sunflowers, or at least I think they're sunflowers. The trade-off is that when you add the water, however, it means that you do have to go back over your colors 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It just depends on the look that you're looking for or going for. Sometimes you may want a matte finish that's opaque. Maybe you want a matte finish that's a little transparent. So a little bit of water goes a long way in the technique and the execution and the final output of what you're going after with your skull. With this skull, there's a broad range of colors that I've used. You can see in the background on my palette, there's reds, there's blues, there's pinks, yellows, teal, all sorts of arrangements. And it's up to you what colors you want to use in the end. Also, it's important to use what colors you think are nice accents. Here you'll see that I'm adding just some white around the flowers, and then around some of the reliefs that's around the skull, I'm adding dots and just fun little nuggets and things that draw some interest to looking at what could be a rather bland looking piece of art. Because I don't know what's going to happen with this piece. I don't know what I'm going to do with the other piece. But if you're interested in creating one of these on your own, hop on over to your local Michaels store and grab some inexpensive paints. In fact, these 2 skulls that I have, they were rather cheap. I bought 2 for the price of 1. And there are other varieties that also were at the store. So I say just go out there, get you some materials, get some fun stuff, and enjoy painting something like this around the season. This final coat is of clear finish by Rust-Oleum. It gives it a really nice sheen and really makes the colors pop. In fact, I had a good time painting this piece. I don't know if I'm going to continue to paint more of these. It was an exercise, as I said, because of the season. But I hope you enjoy it. I hope you got something out of it. And don't be afraid to try something new.